whole experience is like a fairy tale.
He certainly has a very singular vision. It's amazing to watch.
I think it's a very beautiful movie.
So all together made something special.
It was pretty cool.
In 1996, 9 of the 12 sound stages at Britain's Pinewood Studios, and for a time, London's Royal Opera House, were occupied by one of the most secretive projects in filmmaking history. French filmmaker Luc Besson, director of such cult movies as Nikita and Leon, was filming an epic science fiction adventure, The Fifth Element.
I was very interested also to show that the future is not specifically dark and dangerous, and this future is very funny.
Luc always wanted to do a sci-fi movie, always been very involved and very interested by sci-fi.
The Fifth Element was the largest production ever filmed at Pinewood Studios. It had the biggest special effects budget of all time, and was one of the most expensive productions in the history of French cinema.
Suddenly we went to $93 million. So we have over 1,000 people on the payroll. It was an incredible experience. We were crazy.
The story begins in Egypt in 1914. As a race of aliens searches for the mysterious fifth element. The film then leaps forward to New York in the 23rd century. Bringing these two different worlds to life was to be one of the biggest challenges for the filmmakers. Luc Besson first conceived the story while still a young boy.
I didn't know I would be a director in the future at this time. I was just looking for a friend, and I couldn't find it. I have no brothers, no sisters, no TV or thing like this, so I invent this world to escape mine. My paper and my pen at 16 and start to write about this cab driver who can fly in New York in the 23rd century.
This became the basis for his unpublished novel called Zaltman Blero.
And at that time he had a lot of stories in his head.
The hero was Zaltman Blero. He was a worker in a jet factory. The basic story was there. The menace of the big, big round, evil planet coming to Earth. But it was different. There was lots of other stories.
After his cinematic success with Nikita and Atlantis, he transformed the story into a screenplay.
I remember very clearly I signed the first writing agreement while we were shooting The Big Blue.
Unfortunately, his ambitious script was 400 pages long.
So it was a huge story, maybe 2 stories.
So we spent 9 years to write, prepare, and decide this film.
Besson solved this problem by working with Hollywood screenwriter Robert Mark Kamen, and together they broke the story down into 2 separate parts.
Luc has been helped a lot by Robert, because Robert, as a US writer, knows that it's not possible to make a film when it's 250 pages.
The first would become the basis for The Fifth Element.
When you start a movie like this, so huge, like a big adventure, it takes just to see if it's feasible if you can make it, it take a year.
We already spent something as $7 or $8 million before to make the decision in prep.
In creating a look for the 23rd century, Luc Besson made two decisions which would prove fundamental to the film's design and its enduring popularity.
Wow! When I wrote, 15 Mangalores arrived in a room. How you do that? I mean, I don't even know how they look like.
It needed to be fitted, not only with words, but with images.
Firstly, Besson hoped to create an entirely credible future based on evolutionary stages.
Europe a few centuries ago was ready to collapse, and then they discover America and Asia and all these things. So everybody start fighting together and go for, conquer new worlds. So we were near this Third World War when we discovered a way to go in space. So all the people feel more together and build things and start to get out and to start to discover all this world. So the peace on Earth came back, in fact.
Secondly, he hired a team comprising some of the most gifted designers and conceptual artists in the world. Their task was to imagine what the world of the 23rd century would actually look like.
So with Patrice, we make a group of work with, designers.
He wanted really to create a studio. It was, it's more like an art studio. So this studio was made with people like Mobius, was more like advising, and Jean-Claude Mézières, and a lot of young artists.
Dan Vale was the production designer on the film. He came with Luc right at the beginning.
Most of those guys didn't read the script. I think I did. I was maybe the only one who did. So I was telling them more or less what we were looking for.
He was someone who hadn't had an established track record in the international side of things, so he was someone who was very anxious to prove himself and to be part of Luc's dream, which was deliberate by Luc. He didn't want somebody who had an established style.
The work of a designer when you are designing a movie, whatever it is, a parent movie as a modern movie or a contemporary movie, is first to create the iconography of the movie. On a sci-fi movie, you don't have images, or you steal images. I mean, when I say steal, I said we are all stealing the work of somebody, or we have all reference.
He had this very simple idea to bring on board the main comic designer, comic strips, you see that? Designer we have in France, which are Mézières and Mobius.
So instead of looking at their work, it was much easier to have them working with us.
Among this conceptual team were two of the most renowned artists in French comics. Jean Giraud, alias Mobius, and Jean-Claude Mézières.
When he called me for his project of this movie, he said, I've been a reader for your stories for a long time. I want to hire you for my project, and I pay for you for that. And I thought it was very nice. It was a good introduction to the work.
This team of people, I think we were 11, 12 to work for 6 months with only designing ideas.
But he would give each and every person a different part of his vision that would enable them to assume their own identity with that vision.
And then we invent everything first.
Everything in The Fifth Element was designed. Nothing existed because it's science fiction. So every telephone, every pencil, even the cigarettes that Bruce smokes are designed.
And everybody was looking in the same direction, looking for ideas, looking for concept.
Luc was saying, okay boys, astonish me, make me dream, and the technical part will take care of that.
He was able to be totally open-minded to new ideas, to new possibilities.
The way of working was every week was a theme, like cars or like interiors or like food or like whatever.
And Luc passed every day because when they were finished, they were putting on the wall their finished job, and Luc said, I take that, and garbage.
I like this, that's a good idea, I like this color, I like this texture. And we did this for 3 or 4 months.
He collected day after day a lot of those sketches in order to feed himself and to prepare his production design.
One evening he saw that big drawing on the wall, said, "Oh, I like this drawing. You know, you're gonna see it on the screen." It took 5 years, but I saw it on the screen when this is the airport with all the view of New York and the jet going to Flushing Paradise and across the screen. It's exactly my drawing, you know. And at that time, that sequence almost didn't exist in the script. He really built up his movie from some of the drawings, and of course, because the drawings he picked were close from what he was imagining.
What was interesting was the fact that it was a sort of exchange of ping-pong game, bouncing game from everybody to everybody. Later on, people were more allocated to one set or one precise concept. Mobius worked a lot on spaceship, and Jean-Claude worked a lot on the concept of the city.
We built the new New York for the 23rd century way up there to the real New York, and then very much down the bottom too. But I wanted to keep some looks of what is still the New York that everybody knows. It looks like New York, crazy New York, but it has the same feeling.
That was the first part of the process. Few weeks or few months later, an art department came and began to draft technically what have been more or less decided by Luc.
Imagining how people might dress in the 23rd century would be the task of one of fashion's best-known designers.
Who is in Europe the best idea for a sci-fi film? Jean-Paul Gaultier.
A futuristic can be